Let's begin with today's webinar. Thank you to all participants who joined. Today's topic is about why diversity matters in the classroom, and I am Sadhika from Ticket from the Future. And if you're new to this webinar, then we are basically aiming towards telling educators what education needs as students. We are an organization by students for educators. So today our table of contents will look something like this. We begin with an introduction, then move on to something about diversity, defining it, and also knowing about its importance. We'll talk about something called the Christmas strategy that TFTF recently came up with, and we will end with the conclusion session. So I would remind all participants to be really active there. So introduction. I will actually share a personal anecdote relating to the topic of today's webinar. And today's webinar, just to make it more clear, is about diversity, and we're linking this to festivals. Like we wrote in our description, we're talking about how certain festivals are prioritized over others in educational institutions all across the world. So I come from India, and I've been studying and working in an international atmosphere environment for the past 3 years. And around the time of festivals like Diwali or Holi, because I come from India, I actually feel ignored because there is no one there to wish me or congratulate me. Even at school, no one actually congratulates me, and very few people know about these special occasions. As a consequence, I feel overlooked, like my culture isn't valued. The truth is that it isn't that the people around us do not care. It's simply that they do not know. It isn't that the students in my school want to be impolite or rude. It's simply that they were never taught about these festivals. Today, it has become more than common for people of different backgrounds to work, play, and cooperate together. A fantastic example will be this webinar and the platform TFTF has created just to bring people of various nationalities together. And thus, it is very essential that we educate ourselves more about others' culture and also teach them about ours. So with that motivation, TFTF would like to start this webinar today. And because we're starting this webinar with a commitment to being internationally minded, since we will talk about diversity and why we should celebrate a wider range of festivals, even in our international schools or educational institutions, let's begin by naming different festivals that you may know as participants in the chat. And we have about 1 to 2 minutes for doing this activity. And I will also be giving all my inputs there. I will also be reading out any new submissions that I have, so let's please get active there. So someone just mentioned Diwali, Holi, okay. I also heard about this really interesting festival called Songkran, and it comes from Thailand, which is just like Holi as played in India. We also have Makar Sankranti, Dashera. And I also know about some festivals like La Tomatina, which happens in Spain, in which you play with tomatoes. Chuseok, I think that's a Korean lunar festival, Lunar New Year festival. Durga Puja. Let's have more festivals. Someone mentioned Ganesh Chaturthi, which is another festival in India. I mentioned Tet just because I live in Vietnam, and here Tet is one of the biggest celebrations. And also Christmas, because this is a Christmas edition webinar. Yes, Mr. Akash, that's right. Mr. Prashant mentioned Onam. That's actually a festival I've never heard of. So, okay, let's move on. But Mr. Prashant, if you would like to give us a description in the chat, then I can read that out later. But that sounds very interesting. So our second part of the webinar is all about exploring diversity, what it means, and why it is important. And today we will focus more on cultural diversity, which means diversity relating to culture or traditions. Now, the best part about the word diversity is its definition, because it has two definitions, and those two align beautifully. The first one is the fact that there are many different ideas or opinions about something. That is a fact we all know. We all know that no one is ever the same. People come from different faiths, backgrounds, houses, religions, and that is the status quo. That's the present. And that is in some ways an issue because people are sometimes ignored, their culture isn't valued, and we are not being inclusive enough. Then the second definition is the fact of many different types of things or people being included in something. And that is just the solution we're hoping for. We are all talking about inclusivity. The solution this webinar is trying to raise is that why we need to be inclusive and include a diverse range of people to respect how individuals are different and unique in their own ways. So the second definition is in some ways the future we're hoping to design through this webinar. Now let's discuss why it matters. Why does diversity even matter? Now I have compiled a list of benefits that you get from staying diverse. The first one is that you're able to understand more cultures and create a more welcoming environment for others, be it at school, be it at a workplace, or even welcoming tourists into your country. Secondly, you'll learn from others. No person or no society or no community has all these skill sets. So it's really important that you collaborate and learn from each other. Develop a greater appreciation for others. Now, this one leads to the fourth point, which is eliminate discrimination and give rise to expectations. When we get to learn about each other better, problems like racism or cultural stereotypes will no longer exist. Number 5, be more open-minded and listen to others with greater interest and value. Today, power is in collaboration. And when you are actually open-minded and you can listen to others, that becomes a lot easier. And finally, and most importantly, you get to develop your personality as a global citizen. Being a global citizen requires kindness and understanding towards others. So that is all about diversity, and we will now move on. Mr. Prashant added that Onam, the festival that we just talked about earlier, is a South Indian festival. So that is very insightful. Let's continue. So we have actually established, firstly, an introduction where I shared my personal experience. Secondly, we've talked about the Christmas strategy. Secondly, we have talked about the diversity and what its meaning is and what its importance is. And the third one is the Christmas strategy. It is a solution about how to be more diverse in your classrooms, as TFTF is working towards making classrooms and education systems just more student-friendly. So it goes like this. So we have CH, which is charts, role plays, important festivals by continent, student share, make your own, alternating celebrations, and special announcements. So what this actually strategy is about is it's just a collection of ideas on how to make our education system more culturally diverse by valuing different traditions that students and also educators can represent. So without any further delay, let's dive into this. Okay, firstly, we will focus on charts and role plays. Now, class charts can be used to keep track of important occasions. These could be birthdays, class events, but we could also include festivals or national holidays. This way, all students will be able to aware of and acknowledge upcoming celebrations. Sometimes I'm not able to respect someone else's culture just because I don't know when their festival is coming, so that helps solve that problem. This small-scale idea begins at the classroom level as a start-of-the-year activity when most children are actually making start-of-the-year posters or just getting to know each other better. Then we have our second idea, which is to do role plays. Now, when I was doing a research on diversity and about this webinar, I came across this fantastic picture, and what is so stunning about it is that it's a British school doing an Indian play in it. It's called Ramayana, which is an Indian mythology. And it's actually very stunning because it just shows us how much they're trying to be open-minded and expose their children to other cultures. So I think doing role plays is a very interesting activity because it not only the students enjoy it, they get to step into the shoes of a character and learn through their opinion. And that just makes learning about other cultures a lot more fun. Then we can talk about important festivals by continent. Now, TFTF is fully cognizant of the fact that some schools may have limited resources because not all schools can celebrate over 15 festivals, each about a different nationality. This is why TFTF recommends all educational institutions to at least acknowledge 6 festivals in an academic year, 1 per continent. So here are some ideas from my research. And some of these festivals are really interesting because I know most of the Asian festivals, but I'm not really aware of the North American or the African festivals. And that's actually just because I wasn't taught about these. So if schools begin to implement this, their students will just know much more than the festivals they are now exposed to. Number 4, students share. Do you know festivals around the corner? Then invite your classmates or your students as an educator to share their opinions on it. You can also have classroom discussions and dedicate a short time of the lesson to learning about these. And the purpose is that basically students get to communicate their thoughts and feelings about a festival they celebrate. This not only makes them feel special as the center of attention, but that also tells other students more about a particular culture, and they get to hear from someone who has been experiencing it. And then number 5 is make your own. Now, of course, everyone is very creative and there's always room for your own creativity. So now I just want to give my audience about 2 to 3 minutes to just think about ideas they think we could use to promote diversity in our educational systems. And secondly, it should be somewhat related to promoting festivals and being more diverse when it comes to celebrations. So I will be starting the timer now. And I would just request my audience to think about this for 2 to 3 minutes. And if you have an idea, then you can either speak up verbally or you can write that in the chat and we can add that here. Thank you. Okay, now let me stop this timer and ask some of my audience to share their opinions and ideas they have about this topic at hand. So far, I haven't seen any ideas in the chat, so I would just be inviting some of the participants to perhaps speak about this and share their idea with us. So, Mr. Akash, do you have any ideas about this?
Well, hi, thank you for getting me involved. I think my main idea would be really focused around your own strategy that you have developed, the Christmas strategy. I think it's a pretty good tool for the educators to kind of include in their own classrooms, curriculum. The way I see it, the school, what we learn about ISV or RGSV, if we may call it, International School of Vietnam has a very good endeavor to ensure that they have a kind of a global environment in the classroom by ensuring, and they have a cap on the number of students from a particular nationality in a classroom. So in a way, they are promoting this global thought. But what I can practically think of is maybe you can have about 6, 7 or 8 kind of, number of nationalities in a particular classroom. And what I hope is that maybe the teacher in the beginning of the session, and it could really be a group exercise to begin with, that they can tell all the students of a particular nationality to form a group and come up with their own ideas of their favorite festivals in their own country or continent. And after they're done with it, maybe a task can be given that, okay, fine, there is a list compiled. If, for example, we have 6 different nationalities in a classroom, all 6 different groups, they come up with one favorite festival of their choice, and a note is taken of that, displayed in the classroom, and the respective students are given the task. Okay, fine. On that particular day, we would be celebrating your particular festival, and you would be responsible to explain and tell us how the same festival is celebrated in your country. And that would, I think that would be a really good learning tool for the other students, because somebody who's having the same mindset, somebody who's having the same intellect, it really helps. If I, as a kid, I had to explain Holi to someone, I think it would be better for me that if I'm a 6-year-old, I would be giving my ideas of Holi to a 6-year-old, and it would be very, very, very easy for me. And that gives me a thought that I've experienced Songkran in Thailand. And to be honest, Songkran is something very, very similar to Holi, what we celebrate in India. So it's just a little bit of changes which we need to enlighten our other compatriots or our other students, colleagues about. And I'm sure it's going to be a good idea.
Can I say something, like, to add on what Mr. Akash said?
Oh, yes, sure. And before that, Mr. Akash, thank you so much for that idea. I see that it has a mix of the student share idea that we shared earlier about how students can share their ideas. And I really like the idea of having people with the same understanding and intellect to be sharing those. Yes, please go ahead.
So Mr. Akash said that this would be like a particular day in which they should celebrate each other's festivals. But, like, festivals take quite a lot of time. So maybe, like, their teacher can implement a task that all the kids have to do. And the task would be to choose one of their festivals that come in their religion, then make a presentation about it. Like, it can have pictures, diagrams, charts, text, information about the festival. And then at the end, when they're done, they can share it to the whole class so that everybody gets to know about it.
Well,
And then they can project the presentation or pictures on the wall.
okay. And as a student, would you like to know about other classmates' festivals like this, the idea suggested?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to our next slide. And our next one is about alternating festivals. So thank you to all participants for working for this slide. Those are some awesome ideas. Our next one is talking about alternating celebrations. A lot of schools all across the world celebrate something called Annual Day, or a very grand festival every year. And my suggestion, or ticket from the future suggestion, is to select a new festival each year from around the world as their main focus every year. And just to show you how prevalent annual days can we please raise your hands if your education system or school has or had annual days? So let's just do a Zoom activity and let's activate ourselves. It could either be physical or it could be virtual, because annual days are very prevalent in a lot of schools. So my participants, please participate here and raise your hand if your school or education institution has or had annual days. Perfect. That is
So,
all of us. Would you like to add something?
oh no, it's fine. You can continue.
Thank you. So that means that a lot of us, or actually all of us, have schools in which we celebrate annual days. And these are actually just an event dedicated to doing something big for entertainment for the entire school and also to learn something. So it would be really interesting if you could have alternating celebrations. Like for the first year, you could have a grand Christmas festival. For the next year, you could celebrate Tet, and then so on and so forth. Also, I would also ask my participants to just give me some feedback or my organization some feedback by raising your hand if you like this idea. Thank you so much for the feedback. I can see that all participants like this idea, and TFTF would just like to come up with such more ideas that could help the education system make it more student friendly. And last but not the least, and something actually very small that does not require a lot of effort, is special announcements. So we are nearly there. And my question to you all is, how would you feel if it is a national holiday and your school announces it over the public address system or via email? I personally would feel really happy because that means my entire school is recognizing it. It costs the education system so little to make the students and educators feel valued and promote cultural diversity. And if you're not the head of a school or an educator, even students can start doing it. Students can do classroom announcements just to congratulate a classmate who has a certain festival, or just to announce that it is their festival that day. It just begins with telling others about something so that they know about it in the future, and they could just start to be more diverse and wish you in the future about these festivals that you celebrate. And that will be the end of our content delivery. So we went over the Christmas strategy, which had 7 different ideas in it. And now we are here at the conclusion session, which has 2 parts to it. The first part is a Q&A session in which you ask questions or give comments. You could even start a discussion. And the second one is actually a fun game for our exit ticket, which is called Fastest Finger First. So I will be just starting the Q&A timer. I would like to ask any participant who has any questions, comments, just anything to either raise their hand or unmute. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So you said that we should have a chance to know every festival and celebrate it. Like all the festivals should be equal, right?
Yes,
But
not
then,
every, but most of them, yes.
yes, but I think that Christmas and all the others well-known festivals should get an advantage and should be well-known because Christians or whoever the festival is made popular, they did an effort or they succeeded in making them popular and famous.
I agree with that, but it's all about, it's not about how popular a festival could be. It's just about getting to know each other better. So of course, they already have an advantage because Christmas is such a renowned festival, but some other countries have festivals that are not known as much. So of course, they do have an advantage because they certainly made the efforts to do that. But wouldn't it be fun if everyone could share their festivals and this wouldn't be like a competition?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that Mr. Prashant has a technical problem. That's why his hand is raised. Would anyone else like to add anything? Okay, I will assume not now. So let's begin our exit ticket, which will be a quick game. So I would request all my participants to activate themselves because here I will ask some questions and you can either reply verbally or in the chat. And you could just unmute, there is no need to ask for permission. And all these questions are related to the content covered today in the webinar. Question number 1. What is the name of the strategy shared today?
Christmas.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. So Mr. Akash got the first one. Second one. What does CH in the Christmas strategy stand for? Don't forget, you can also answer via the chat.
Choosing?
No, not
Choice?
No. It's something about a piece of paper that you can decorate at the
Chart.
Yes.
Chart.
And finally, the third one will be, oh, before that, I do have a comment in the chat, so I will check that for all participants. Charts, yes, Mr. Prashant also got that right. And finally, this is more of an open-ended question, which is share something about a festival you love celebrating. And there is no limit on this. So if anyone wants to, then they can go ahead.
Me.
Yes, please do.
I love celebrating Diwali and Holi. The Holi because it's so colorful and fun. Diwali because you burn firecrackers, and it's also fun.
Awesome. So my request to you next time would be to get your friends involved as well and try and share this in your classroom meetings.
Okay.
Would someone else like to share something about their favorite festival?
Well, as I said earlier as well, that there is one festival which is celebrated as Holi in India, Songkran in Thailand, and I can relate it to Tomatina in Spain. So apparently there is a lot of similarity between all these festivals, and it would be fun, if the festivals could be combined and played together with the different nationalities, with an attempt to incorporate all the different elements. If it's in India, Holi is played with colors. If it's about Songkran in Thailand, it's just played with mud and water. If it's about Tomatina, it's played with tomatoes. So maybe, it would be really innovative if you could come up with a new festival which incorporates all these three elements and give you a unique feel.
That is actually an excellent idea. And I think it's really important that the education system or the students get to know about it because they are the next generation and they actually need to start implementing these changes. Okay, I will be moving on. And this is just a thank you slide. So thank you to all participants for attending this webinar. This is our 5th webinar. And with that, I would also like to do an announcement on the behalf of TFTF, which is that in case any participant needs a participation certificate for any particular reason, please register for this webinar. That would mean that please do not just log in directly via the Zoom link. Please register so that we know your full name and we can email you the certificate. Before ending, I would just like to open the floor to anyone who wants to add something. Okay, seeing that we have actually done a lot of participation today, I would just like to end this webinar with firstly, a Merry Christmas to everyone because it's about staying diverse. So just to everyone, I hope you have happy holidays. And if you are at home, then please do relax. It has been a very stressful year, 2021. And TFTF will be seeing you after the new year. So we will meet here in 2022. So also congratulations for that. And before we go, as always, as a ritual, we will take a picture. So I would request all participants to turn on their videos if they feel comfortable doing so and have some festive filters. Okay, I will just wait 30 more seconds for the other participants to be doing this. Very creative, Mr. Akash. Okay, I will be clicking the picture and in 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much. That is the end of the webinar. Because you're promoting diversity, again, I would just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and have a fantastic end of year.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.